Hello Kerbalots and welcome to Kerbal Space Program, where we are going to try and build a space shuttle, get it to launch and see what happens. And what we're going to do is first, I've just slapped this together, made it look like a space shuttle. Obviously I've changed the engine because we didn't have the thrust to weight ratio with the smaller engines. But I just slapped it together, made it look like the space shuttle, and we'll launch it and see what happens. From there then we can work out what design flaws we have and try to fix them. Okay, so let's put on the user interface. Engage the SAS. Full thrust speed, because otherwise we will not take off. And 3, 2, 1, engage engines. And release the clamps. No, we're pitching over. No, not a good start. And obviously we do need a bit of work. We do need to engineer this problem. And this is what NASA had to do in their trials and tribulations for building the space shuttle. Anyway, let's go and see what we can do in the... Well, I won't start in the VAB. I think what we'll do is we'll start with actually the shuttle itself. We need to get it to glide because it's no good having it going launching it in space and then find that it disintegrates when coming back, or it can't even fly. So yeah, let's go to the VAB, not the VAB, let's go to the space plane hangar. I've never been there before. Well, I have, but not for a video. Right, in the VAB, let's load up the shuttle. If you didn't know, you could actually load up the spacecraft you built in the VAB, and also vice versa. If you're in the VAB, you can load up the spacecraft that you built in this space plane hangar. So let's look for the shuttle one, load him up. Okay, first off, how do you get up? Yes, page up and page down to go up and down here. Right, let's select the craft. Once you not good. It automatically orientates your spacecraft the right way round, or whichever one you're going into. Right, let's get rid of all these boosters and the tank. Obviously we don't need these as well, because we're going to trying to go it because it's a glider. And first things first, we haven't got any landing gear, so let's put them on there. They're a bit too small. They're good. Well, we got large ones. Let's see what they're like. Nah, they're too big. Okay, the medium ones are pretty good for our design. Let's put one there, and let's hold down Alt, copy, and symmetry 2. Let's put 2 at the back here. And press Shift and rotate them. Okay. Right, this gives you one good advantage here, where if you have the wheels higher on the rear, and show you what I mean. Okay, this is a bit exaggerated. I think I can do it with Shift. Right, those wheels would make this shuttle point upwards, which gives you two things. If you want to launch this from the runway, then the swept rings pointing upwards would give you the lift to take off much easier than it would if they were horizontal. Also, it acts as a brake. Say if you're coming in for landing, you'd have to land with the rear wheels first. The wings would provide drag in that direction and would slow your spacecraft down. So that is why these wheels are higher up than the reel at the front. Nice little handy tip. Okay, let's get this the right way up. And let's design it. Right, where's the mass? Okay, right. With the mass, you want it to be just in front of your central lift, I believe. Don't quote me on this because I'm not an expert on aerodynamics or anything to do with planes. No, I avoided the subject with Kerbal Space Program planes until now, where we have to build a shuttle. Okay, the central mass has to be in front of the central lift. However, it is a bit too far to the rear, so let's counteract that by... We'll have to put mass at the front, I think. And I think I did see some tanks. Right, we've got the monopropellant tank, we're going to adapter, no we don't that. We have larger fuselage. No, that'll make it too big. Let's try... Yeah, let's try that. Okay, plug him on there. Oh, that's better. It looks a bit more center. However, our center lift is too far back now. Yeah, let's put symmetry to 2. And bring these forward. Okay, let's see what this does. Let's launch this onto the runway and see what happens. Right, here we are on the launch pad. No, not the launch pad, we're on the runway. And what we're going to do is try to test the aerodynamics. However, there's a problem. This engine is at an angle. Let's go back, quickly change that, and come back here. Okay, we're back on the runway. We have straightened the engine up, and this hopefully will fly. However, I have noticed one thing already. The rear landing gear is too far back on the wings. Now, when we pull up, that's going to push the aircraft down by here. And the wheels are further back, which means that it's going to be pushing the wheels down on the runway. And not generating us, not pitching the nose of the aircraft up to give us lift to take off. However, we are at an angle, so we'll try with this without that. Okay. Press X to reduce thrust. Engage the engine and slowly thrust up. Oh yes. Alt F12 and let's put infinite fuel on. Because we're not testing to see how long this will last. We want to see how the aerodynamics fare. Okay, pulling up, but we're getting nothing. We'll have to rely on the end of the runway. Or we can gather enough speed that the lift should work. And we do have the gimbling of the engine. Yeah. And we're going up. Bit more thrust. Yes, yes. I'm bringing the gear. Okay, let's see. Right, let's turn off the SAS and see how we fly. Okay, it's pitching forward, probably because the heavy weight is higher at the back, at the front. However, with the SAS on and full fuel tank, we're doing relatively well. Okay, at this point I decided, well, let's go hell for leather. Let's go as high as we can and see if we can land this blighter. Well, we've proven that you can fly with those wings. However, we need to find out what speeds we can carry on at and what the aerodynamics are like. Now, if you press F12 on its own, it'll bring up all the display of the aerodynamics lifting of the wings. The yellow is the control surfaces. The light cyan is the drag of your rocket, and any red is drags of parts. Right, it looks like our stall speed is 120 meters per second, so we may have to make sure that we're going over that speed to make sure that we do not stall and then come in for landing. The only time where we can be under 120 meters per second is when we're coming in on the landing strip. Right, I've decided to choose this landing strip because it's much longer than the one on the island. However, if we do add parachutes on the rear of the shuttle, that means we can go on a shorter runway for landing. It looks like we're coming in at a bit of a too steep angle. We need to bring it down to a shallow angle. That's what I'm doing by here. And I'm flying pretty well by here. This is quite an easy thing to control. A bit too fast, I think, coming in for the runway. However, as I said, if we have parachutes, we can actually stop. So yes, we've landed. All we have to do now is build our launch vehicle to the spaceplane hangar. Okay, now that we've got our aerodynamically sound shuttle, let's engineer our launch vehicle. Okay, we'll need our decoupler. Let's get our tanks again. Let's put the smaller tanks on here. The idea is that we can empty or fill certain tanks, get our center of mass correct. Okay, that's looking good. Get those nose cones on. Okay, that's looking good. Let's not forget those struts. Wrong place. Okay, we've got the center tank done. We also have to get the fuel duct and feed that to the engine, because otherwise it will not work. There you go. So next thing we need to do is sort out the thrust to weight ratio, get the center of mass correct. Right, the idea of having the engines at an angle, which is what NASA have done, is to get a center on the center of mass. And because this huge tank would offset the mass, make the mass forward a bit, you'd offset the engines to thrust in that direction. Now the best thing to do is have it directly on the center of mass. However, that at an angle would push the shuttle sideways. So what NASA do is they turn the shuttle over, they call it the roll program, and then they tilt the shuttle over. So that is pushing that way, the aerodynamics is pushing that way, so then hopefully you'll be going straight. At least that's the theory I have. So let's go and put it to the test. Let's add some SRBs to this. And we want, what are they called? They're called the kickback. Add some nose cones. Struts. And let's not forget the launch stability enhancers. Okay, let's have a look at this. Now the center of thrust is down here. The center of mass is by here. We want the center of thrust to be over the center of mass. So let's quickly test this, see what we get, and then work out what alterations we can do to it to get it to work correctly. Now ideally you do want the center of thrust under the center of mass, that way you'd have a more stable spacecraft. And I forgot to stage. Oh, there we are. Okay, that looks good. Now let's launch. Full throttle. Get our engineer up. SSES, engage. SSES. SAS, engage. In 3, 2, 1. Launch. Decouple. And yes, the center of mass is pulling us down. In spectacular fashions. Hello, the Kerbals have survived. Okay, let's revert this back to vehicle assembly building. And see if we can get that center of thrust under the center of mass. Right, the idea of every rocket, see your center of mass, center of thrust under your center of mass. Right, let's try one thing. Let's try moving these closer to our rocket. Okay, yeah, it's moving the center mass closer to the center. However, the thrust is also going in that direction as well. Bring it this way. This is a bit better. Okay, what if we add another set of SRBs? Okay, that's much closer. of the way. And I have an idea. Right, where's the fuel? We open this cargo bay. We put something inside the shuttle because normally it's carrying something. A payload of some kind. Wait a minute, that's a good idea. The ore does nothing for the game. For this. Okay, if we increase the ore. Increase the mass coming this way. Again. Okay, we want to be careful because we will launch. These tanks will start draining at the top. Center of mass will start to shift towards the right and down. So we'll have to watch out for that, but let's go ahead, launch this, see how stable this is. Center of mass should go that way. We decrease the limit to this. No. Tell you what, we could throttle our engines down slightly because we have enough thrust to weight ratio. Once everything's again staged correctly. Okay, close those bay doors. We'll call this Shuttle Test 3 because this is the third one. Save that. So we can always come back to it the same design. And yes, we've got struts on everything. So we're good to go. Let's launch. Okay, we are on the launch pad. And we seem to be going forward of it. I think it's high. It's heavy. These SRBs are giving us a higher weight on that side of the rocket. Right, let's give it a go. Assessing it. Full thrust. Now reduce the thrust a bit. To shift our center of thrust towards the center of mass. And in 3, 2, 1, launch! Increase that and disengage. No! No! The seafood twist, no! Abort, abort, abort! Okay, test 3 failed. By the way, this is not a tutorial on how to build a space shuttle. This is me trying to build a space shuttle. Okay, so what have we learned? That we're terrible at judging all this. Let's put this engine on straight. And center of thrust. I'll give this a quick go. Test 4. Save launch. Hopefully some of the simple adjustments will make this much more stable and work correctly. Okay, SS engage, full thrust. In 3, 2, 1, launch. Engage. This looks a bit more promising, actually. We have liftoff, although it being slow. Let's start our roll program. And we can control the tilt of the spacecraft getting into orbit by controlling the thrust of our engine. Albeit we have to do it fine control. We're losing control. Ah yes, I forgot. I'm an idiot. I've left infinite fuel on. That way the centre of mass was not changing no matter what we were doing. Can we gain any control out of this? We've got absolutely no control on this. This poses a problem. Okay. Revert to vehicle assembly building. We know that we haven't got lack of control, so what I suggest is we'll get rid of the solid rocket boosters because we do not have control of them. And get rid of that, wherever it is. And what we'll do is add some solid rocket boosters, some fuel boosters. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to be using liquid fuel boosters because our thrust ratio is 0.6 to start off with and 1.1 once their tanks are empty. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to go back to SRBs and see what we can do with them and try and get that center of mass right to center. Also, we don't have enough delta V anyway to get up into orbit. So let's dump this idea and start again. Well, with the SRBs back in place, I've decided that the two problems is we haven't got our thrust on center of thrust on the center of mass, so we'll adjust that a bit. We'll adjust the mass out a bit, and that looks pretty close. In fact, I think we'll stick with that. As soon as the tank starts emptying, that center of mass will shift towards the center of thrust, and we can work our way through it that way. And also, we were lacking control, so what I'm going to do is use these Venor engines, and they like RCS. However, rather than using RCS tanks, they use the liquid fuel from the engines. That means we don't have to add any extra RCS tanks, and we should have plenty enough fuel in there to do the maneuvering. Yes, you could say it's cheating, but at the moment, Kerbal Space Program does not fully simulate what you have in real life, so I think it's a compromise. Because we haven't got the exact control that we do from the main engine of the shuttle. Because I believe the main shuttle engines had a gimbling of 10%. 10 degrees, not 10%. However, Kerbal Space Program, I think 5 degrees. So yes, these are not cheating, they're just supplementing the fact that Kerbal Space Program is not totally accurate. Anyway, let's go give this a test and see what will happen. Okay, so this is test number 5. Hopefully this will give us a bit more what we require. Let's get going. Thrust. SS engage. RCS this time to engage the thrusters. See, as you see, it's using the thrust. And 3, 2, 1, engage engines. Engage launch. And we're tipping over. Obviously, we've got too much weight now in the shuttle. Let's see if we can spin it over. Save it. Can we stop them from tumbling? Yes. Could use these two engines here. And we're too late. Now, obviously, engineering a shuttle is difficult. It's nothing like a rocket. It's nothing like an aircraft. It's trying to amalgamate the two into one. I'm not giving up. But this is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, why not subscribe? Because I'm going to release another episode of how how I'm going to try and engineer a shuttle. Anyway, guys, trust me, I'm an engineer, and I'm good at building shuttles, apparently.